Nathan stood amidst the clutter of his office, papers strewn about like fallen leaves in autumn. As a linguistics professor at a small university, his life was a whirlwind of academia and solitude. That evening, as the campus clock tower chimed 6 times, there was a gentle knock on his door. "Come in," he called, not looking up from his papers. The door creaked open, and in stepped a young woman with an intriguing accent that Nathan couldn't place. "Professor Carter? I'm Lila," she said, her voice tinged with a melodious quality that immediately piqued his interest. Nathan glanced up, his eyes meeting hers. "Yes, I'm Nathan Carter. How can I help you, miss?" "Lila Koenig," she replied, extending a hand, which Nathan shook. "I'm interested in your work on the evolution of Indo-European languages. I've read your papers and believe there's much to discuss." Intrigued, Nathan gestured to a chair. "Please, have a seat, Miss Koenig. What particular aspect of my work interests you?" As she settled into the chair, Lila's eyes scanned the room, landing on a stack of books about ancient scripts. "Your theory on the interconnectedness of ancient scripts and modern languages. I have a perspective on it that you might find different." Nathan's eyebrow raised in interest. "Oh, and what perspective is that?" "It's a bit complex. It involves comparative analysis beyond Earth's languages," she said, the corners of her mouth turning up slightly. Nathan laughed. "Are we venturing into extraterrestrial linguistics? Because if so, you've come to the right place. That's a favorite topic of mine, albeit more science fiction than science." Lila leaned forward, her expression earnest. "What if I told you it's not as fictional as you think?" Their conversation deepened, with Nathan becoming increasingly fascinated. He suggested they head to the university's cafe to continue their discussion over coffee. As they walked through the quiet campus, Nathan felt a spark of excitement. He hadn't connected with someone so intellectually compatible in years. At the cafe, they were joined by another linguistics enthusiast and Nathan's colleague, Professor Tom Higgins. Tom was an older, more skeptical man but shared Nathan's passion for languages. "Tom, meet Lila Koenig," Nathan introduced. "Lila, this is Professor Tom Higgins, an expert in Semitic languages." Tom, peering over his glasses, offered a hand. "Pleasure to meet you, Miss Koenig. Nathan here hasn't stopped talking about your extraterrestrial theories. So, what brings you to our little corner of academia?" Lila smiled, acknowledging the challenge in Tom's tone. "I'm here on a sort of exchange program. My focus has been on the practical applications of linguistic theory, and I believe your work here complements my studies." "And where is here exactly?" Tom asked, his skepticism thinly veiled. "Let's just say it's a place far beyond what flights can reach," Lila answered cryptically, her eyes twinkling with a mix of mischief and sincerity. Nathan chuckled, enjoying the interplay. "Well, Tom, it sounds like we're in for some interesting discussions." They spent the next hour debating and discussing linguistic patterns, each moment further bonding Nathan and Lila in their shared passion. As the night drew in, they parted ways with plans to meet again, the first chapter of their unexpected journey just beginning. Nathan couldn't help but feel that Lila was about to turn his world upside down, and for the first time in a long while, he was ready for anything. As the last of the autumn leaves fell, Nathan found himself walking beside Lila to the university's old observatory, a place he loved for its quiet and the view of the night sky. The crisp evening air was a pleasant contrast to the warmth of the discussion they'd had in his office earlier. "So, Lila, you mentioned your perspective was a bit out of this world," Nathan started, adjusting the collar of his jacket. "Are you ready to divulge your secrets under the stars?" Lila chuckled, her breath visible in the chilly air. "I suppose the stars are the perfect witnesses for what I'm about to share." They reached the observatory, and Nathan unlocked the door. The musty smell of old metal and wood filled their noses as they entered. Nathan began preparing the telescope, his hands skilled and quick from years of practice. "Professor Carter, have you ever truly considered the possibility of intelligent life beyond Earth?" Lila asked, her voice echoing slightly in the dome. Nathan paused, his hands still. "I've entertained the idea. Comes with the territory of being a linguist and a lover of science fiction. But believing it's real? That's another matter. Because it is real, Nathan, Lila said, her tone serious. She stepped into the moonlight streaming through the dome, her face illuminated and earnest. I'm not just here for an exchange program. I'm here because my people are studying human languages. Nathan turned to face her, skepticism written across his features. Your people? Yes, I'm not from here. From Earth, I come from a planet we call Eos. Nathan blinked, processing her words. Eos? That's incredible. And hard to believe. I knew it would be, Lila replied. She reached out, taking his hand. Which is why I chose to reveal this to you at night. Here, where we can see not just stars but possibilities. Nathan felt a mix of excitement and disbelief. So, your interest in languages is both professional and personal. We believe that understanding a civilization's languages is key to understanding its people, Lila explained. Their conversation was interrupted by the observatory door swinging open. Tom stepped inside, a grin on his face and a flask in his hand. Am I interrupting the alien disclosure or just in time for the conspiracy theories? Tom joked, noticing the serious atmosphere. Lila smiled, welcoming the break in tension. Professor Higgins, just in time. I was just explaining to Nathan that I am, in fact, an alien. Tom raised an eyebrow, taking a swig from his flask. Well, if aliens look like you, I've been grossly misinformed by all the movies. Nathan laughed, grateful for Tom's humor. She's serious, Tom. Tom's expression sobered. Really? This isn't some elaborate setup for a paper or a study. No, it's not, Lila affirmed. I wanted to tell you both because I need guidance on how best to approach my mission here without causing alarm or misunderstanding. The three of them sat down, the telescope momentarily forgotten as Lila began to share more about Eos, its culture, its people, and why they were interested in Earth. Nathan listened, fascinated by the linguistics implications, while Tom interjected with questions that ranged from scientific to absurdly humorous. Have you got music like ours? What about food? Do you use spices? Tom asked, always curious about the everyday aspects that defined a culture. We have forms of both, though they're different. But yes, we use spices, and we have music that's very important to us, Lila answered, her eyes lighting up with each question. The discussion carried on into the night, with theories being thrown around and laughter mingling with the serious undertones of their unprecedented situation. Nathan felt a camaraderie building between the three of them, anchored by their shared desire to bridge their understanding of two vastly different worlds. As they finally left the observatory, the first light of dawn was creeping across the horizon. Nathan looked over at Lila, her profile etched against the lightening sky, and felt a profound sense of wonder, not just at the universe, but at the woman who had brought the stars a little closer to Earth. In the weeks that followed Lila's revelation, Nathan found himself regularly meeting with her and Tom to discuss the integration of her extraterrestrial insights into their academic work. They had agreed to keep her true identity confidential for the time being. Today, they gathered in Nathan's cluttered office, surrounded by books and papers, a whiteboard filled with notes on Eosian language structures. So, Tom began, adjusting his glasses, if we're going to seriously incorporate Lila's knowledge into our curriculum, we need a solid plan to introduce these concepts without revealing their origin. Thoughts, Nathan? Nathan, who was pacing slightly, stopped and faced them. We can say we're developing a hypothetical model based on theoretical non-human linguistics. It could be a good exercise for the students, thinking outside the terrestrial box. Lila nodded in agreement. That sounds viable. We can gradually introduce Eosian linguistic patterns as part of this theoretical framework, engage the students' reactions and understanding. Tom scribbled some notes, then looked up. And I can add a comparative element with Semitic languages. There's a surprising symmetry between Eosian and Ancient Hebrew that we can explore without drawing too much attention. Nathan smiled at the collaborative spirit. Perfect. Let's draft some course outlines and see where we can weave this in subtly. The planning session turned into a brainstorming storm, with each of them bouncing ideas off the others. They discussed linguistic trees, syntax anomalies, and phonological parallels, all while keeping the conversation light and filled with academic excitement. As they wrapped up, Lila's expression turned more serious. There's something else, she hesitated. My presence here is peaceful, but I must learn more about human social behaviors and emotional nuances to truly understand your species. Nathan, could you help me with that? Of course, Nathan replied earnestly. I think a great way would be to immerse you in various social settings. Maybe start with some campus events? Exactly what I was thinking, Tom chimed in. There's the multicultural fair next week. It's a perfect, low-risk environment for observation. Lila's face brightened. That sounds ideal. Observing a range of cultures simultaneously will provide comparative data to send back to EOS. Over the next several days, Nathan took it upon himself to accompany Lila around campus, introducing her to diverse social circles. They attended workshops, lectures, and the multicultural fair. Lila was a quick study, her questions insightful and her manner increasingly confident. At the fair, as they walked between booths showcasing different countries, Nathan watched Lila interact. She was particularly fascinated by a group of students performing a traditional dance. She approached them afterwards, complimenting their technique and asking about the dance's cultural significance. One of the dancers, a graduate student named Marco, engaged eagerly with her questions. It's based on ancient folklore. Are you a dancer yourself? Lila laughed softly. No, but I'm learning about all forms of human expression. Dance seems particularly potent. Would you like to try? Marco offered his hand. With a glance at Nathan for encouragement, Lila accepted. Marco led her into the basic steps right there beside the booth. Nathan watched, amused and touched by Lila's genuine delight in the experience. As the day ended, Lila and Nathan sat on a campus bench, watching the sun set. Thank you, she said. Today was incredibly enlightening. I feel more connected to your world already. Nathan smiled, feeling a warm sense of companionship. I'm glad to hear that. And there's plenty more to explore. Their meetings had begun as a necessary collaboration, but as they walked back to the linguistics department, it was clear they had evolved into something richer. A friendship built on curiosity, respect, and a shared journey into the unknown. It was a rainy Thursday evening when Nathan and Lila found themselves alone in the university library's back corner, surrounded by dusty tomes about ancient civilizations. They had been meeting here regularly, exploring each other's worlds through books and conversation. Lila pulled a particularly old book from the shelf. Nathan, look at this, she said, pointing to an obscure symbol in the book. We have something similar on EOS, but it's used in a completely different context. Nathan leaned closer, their shoulders brushing. That's fascinating. It's like a linguistic mirror, reflecting similar ideas, but in such different lights. It really makes you think about the universality of certain concepts. As they discussed, the storm outside grew more intense, the sound of rain against the windows adding a secluded, intimate quality to their meeting. Lila looked up from the book, her eyes meeting Nathan's. Do you ever feel, she paused, searching for the right words, that meeting someone from a completely different world isn't just coincidence? Nathan held her gaze, feeling a pull in his chest. Yes, I think about that. Meeting you has changed the way I see everything. The air between them charged with unspoken emotions. Lila tentatively reached out, her hand lightly touching Nathan's. On EOS, when someone means a great deal to us, we share a melda. It's a gesture of deep connection. What does it involve? Nathan asked, his voice low. It's a touch, a sharing of personal space that's only done in truth, she explained, moving her hand to the side of his face. The contact sent a shiver through him, her fingers gentle yet intent. Nathan responded by covering her hand with his, turning his face to press a kiss into her palm. Is this all right? He asked, his heart racing with the possibility of crossing a boundary he'd never dared with anyone else. Lila nodded, her breath quickening. Yes, it's more than all right. They moved closer, guided by a mutual desire to explore the connection sparking between them. Nathan kissed her, first cautiously, then with growing confidence as she responded with equal fervor. Their initial, tentative contact deepened into a kiss filled with discovery and acknowledgement of their rapidly intensifying feelings. Breaking the kiss, Nathan whispered, I've never felt this way before. Lila smiled, her face inches from his. Neither have I. It's new, and it's terrifying, but it feels right. Encouraged by her words, Nathan wrapped his arms around her, pulling her into a gentle embrace. They stood there, in the quiet library, rain drumming a soft rhythm outside, holding each other in a moment of peaceful acceptance. The storm eventually passed, and as they stepped outside, the fresh smell of rain on concrete filled the air. They walked slowly towards the campus coffee shop, their hands entwined, not speaking but communicating in a language of glances and gentle squeezes. At the coffee shop, they found Tom sitting with a large cappuccino, grading papers. Seeing them together, his face lit up with a knowing smile. "You two look like you've solved more than linguistic puzzles," he remarked, his voice teasing but kind. Lila laughed, a sound that Nathan realized he loved to hear. "Maybe we have, Tom." Nathan felt a deep contentment as they joined Tom, their discussion turning from personal revelations back to academic pursuits. But the shift was seamless, a testament to how deeply intertwined their lives had become. In that crowded coffee shop, amidst the steam and chatter, Nathan and Lila found a new rhythm together, both exhilarating and profoundly comforting. The buzz of campus rumors had grown louder over the weeks, and whispers of Nathan's unusual closeness with Lila had not gone unnoticed. Sitting in Nathan's office, amidst the familiar chaos of books and papers, they both knew they had to address the growing curiosity. "Lila, we need to think about how much longer we can keep your identity a secret," Nathan said, tapping a pen against his desk, his brow furrowed with concern. Lila nodded, her expression somber. "I know. The speculation might lead to misunderstandings. We don't want fear to take root." Tom, who was leaning against the door frame with his arms crossed, added, "It's a delicate situation. If the wrong person puts the puzzle pieces together, it could spiral out of control. Maybe it's time we controlled the narrative," Nathan suggested, looking between Lila and Tom. "What if we organized a seminar? Introduced your origins as part of a theoretical discussion?" Lila considered this, her eyes thoughtful. "We could frame it as a hypothetical scenario. Gauge the reaction without confirming anything outright." Tom clapped his hands together, a spark of excitement in his eyes. "That's brilliant. We can discuss the implications of extraterrestrial communication and cultural exchange without making it personal. Keep it academic." The next few days were a flurry of preparation. Nathan, Lila, and Tom designed the seminar to cover various aspects of theoretical alien cultures and communication, using it as a soft test ground for public reaction to Lila's real background. On the day of the seminar, the lecture hall was packed. Students and faculty alike buzzed with anticipation, intrigued by the session's provocative title, "The Linguistic Implications of Intergalactic Communication: A Theoretical Exploration." Nathan started the seminar with an introduction to xenolinguistics, setting a scholarly tone. Lila then took over, her poise impeccable as she discussed hypothetical alien language structures, drawing parallels with Earth's languages without revealing her true identity. Tom interjected with humor and challenging questions, helping to lighten the mood and spur engagement from the audience. As the discussion opened to the floor, a hand shot up in the back row. It was Dr. Jensen, a respected anthropologist. "Fascinating presentation," he began, his voice carrying a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "But how realistic is it to assume we could even recognize, much less understand, an alien language?" Lila responded with a calm confidence. "It's a valid question. We often assume that communication must adhere to human-like patterns. Part of our exploration is understanding that we might need entirely new frameworks to even begin such interactions." The seminar concluded with robust applause and lively conversations. Many were intrigued by the possibility of alien languages, though none suspected the truth behind the discussion. Afterward, Nathan, Lila, and Tom gathered in a quiet corner of the campus cafe, their expressions a mix of relief and satisfaction. "That went better than I expected," Lila admitted, sipping her coffee. Tom nodded in agreement. "It did. And it seems like we've piqued more intellectual curiosity than fear, which is exactly what we wanted." Nathan looked at Lila, pride evident in his eyes. "You were incredible today. No matter what comes next, We've started a conversation that's bigger than any of us. Lila reached out, squeezing his hand. With your help, both of you. I feel like we're finally making progress. As they discussed their next steps, it was clear they had not only advanced their academic goals, but also strengthened their bond. They were no longer just colleagues, but a team, united by a shared secret and a common purpose. Over the next few months, the impact of the seminar began to manifest in ways Nathan, Lila, and Tom hadn't fully anticipated. Their academic community started integrating discussions about extraterrestrial linguistics into other coursework and seminars. Curiosity had taken hold, replacing the initial whispers of skepticism. In his office, where sunlight filtered through stacks of books, Nathan was meeting with Tom to review the syllabus for a new interdisciplinary course they were co-developing. Tom thumbed through the notes, his face thoughtful. We're on the brink of something big here, Nathan. This course could set a precedent for how other institutions approach the subject. Nathan nodded, feeling the weight of their responsibility. I agree. We need to ensure it's comprehensive yet accessible.
And maybe, just maybe, we can prepare them for the day when it's not just theoretical.
Their discussion was interrupted by a soft knock on the door. Come in, Nathan called, and Lila entered, a small smile playing on her lips. Am I interrupting? She asked, her voice light. Not at all, Tom replied, waving her in. We're just trying to shape young minds. No pressure. Lila laughed, joining them at the table. I've got some updates from my last transmission to EOS. They're extremely interested in our progress and the evolving human perspectives on extraterrestrial communication. That's encouraging, Nathan said. It means we're not just spinning our wheels here. Exactly, Lila responded. And there's more. They've agreed to a suggestion of mine to send more information about Eocean culture. I believe it could enrich our course and provide a unique learning experience. Tom raised his eyebrows, impressed. You're really pushing the envelope, Lila. I'm on board. What do you think, Nathan? It could be exactly what we need to keep the momentum going, Nathan agreed. As they worked, integrating new Eocean materials into the curriculum, the buzz around campus grew. Students were eagerly signing up for the course, drawn by the promise of exploring uncharted territory. One afternoon, as they prepared for the first lecture of the course, Nathan, Tom, and Lila gathered in the largest lecture hall on campus, which was quickly filling with students. Look at this turnout, Tom whispered, peeking out from behind the curtain at the stage front. We might need a bigger boat. Nathan chuckled. Let's just hope they're ready for what we're about to introduce. The lecture went beyond expectations. Lila, taking the stage, shared more about hypothetical Eocean societal structures and communication patterns. The students were captivated, their faces alight with curiosity and wonder. After the lecture, a student approached Nathan and Lila. He was an eager young man named Jamie, who had taken a keen interest in the subject. That was incredible, Jamie said, his eyes wide. It's like you're opening a door to a whole new world. That's the idea, Lila replied, pleased. We hope it challenges and expands your understanding of what communication can be. Jamie nodded enthusiastically. It does, and it makes you wonder what else is out there. As the students dispersed, talking animatedly among themselves, Nathan and Lila shared a satisfied look. We're changing minds, Lila. We're making them think bigger, Nathan said, feeling a surge of pride. And in doing so, we're changing our own world, Lila added, her voice full of hope. The success of the course cemented their project, and word began to spread beyond the university. Invitations for guest lectures and symposiums started coming in, signaling a growing acceptance and interest in their work. As they walked back to Nathan's office, the setting sun cast long shadows across the campus. They were no longer just a small group with a big secret. They were pioneers on the frontier of human-alien understanding. The university campus was alive with energy as students moved between classes, discussing the latest developments from Nathan, Lila, and Tom's groundbreaking course. With each lecture, they'd fostered more interest in the possibility of interspecies communication, subtly preparing minds for something much larger than academia. One chilly evening, Nathan invited Lila to the rooftop of the university library, a spot he often went to when he needed solitude and a view of the stars. The sky was clear, the stars sharp and vibrant against the inky black. He had something important on his mind, and he hoped this would be the perfect place for it. Lila, he began, adjusting his coat against the brisk air. We've spent so much time together these past months, but I don't think I've ever properly told you how much you've changed my life. Lila smiled softly, looking up at the stars. You've changed mine as well, Nathan. More than I ever expected when I first arrived here. They stood in silence for a moment, both feeling the weight of what lay between them. I don't just mean the work, Nathan said, turning to face her. What we've done is groundbreaking, yes, but it's more than that. You've become irreplaceable to me. Lila's eyes met his, and her expression softened. Nathan, you mean so much to me too. I never thought I could feel this way, especially here, so far from home. Nathan reached into his pocket, feeling a slight tremor in his hand. In your culture, is there a way of showing commitment, a promise between two people? Lila nodded, intrigued. Yes, we call it a mura. It's a promise of shared purpose and trust, symbolized by something meaningful to both people. Nathan took a deep breath, pulling out a small, simple ring he'd found earlier that day. It's not much, but this is my way of making a mura with you, if you'll have it. Lila looked down at the ring, her eyes widening with surprise and emotion. Nathan, this is... I don't know what to say. Then let me say it for you, he replied, taking her hand. I want to spend my life with you, Lila. I want to explore not just our worlds, but every possible moment we can create together. Lila's face lit up with a joy he hadn't seen before. She touched the ring, her fingers trembling slightly as she looked into his eyes. I accept, Nathan. I want that too. More than anything. They embraced under the stars, feeling an unspoken promise settle between them. Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger, and they shared a kiss filled with the weight of their commitment, a vow to face whatever challenges came their way. Later that night, they met Tom for dinner at their favorite cafe, eager to share the news. Tom spotted the ring on Lila's finger immediately, his eyes widening as he let out a laugh. Well, look at that. I didn't realize this project came with a fringe benefit of romance, Tom teased, clapping Nathan on the back. Nathan grinned, his arm around Lila. What can I say? She's more than I could have ever hoped for. Tom raised his glass, his eyes twinkling with pride and affection. To Nathan and Lila, two people who somehow managed to make even the impossible look easy. They toasted, laughter and warmth filling the small cafe as they celebrated this new chapter together. And as the night wore on, Nathan and Lila couldn't help but feel that their shared journey was only just beginning. The day of Nathan and Lila's wedding was a crisp, clear autumn day. The campus was a blend of colors, gold and amber leaves swirling through the air as friends and colleagues gathered in the university garden. The ceremony was a unique mix of human and Eocean traditions, thoughtfully woven together to honor both worlds. Nathan stood near the altar, his heart racing as he looked over the gathering. Tom stood beside him, adjusting his tie and sneaking a glance at the small crowd. Did you ever imagine you'd see something like this? Tom asked with a grin. Not in my wildest dreams, Nathan replied, his voice filled with both nerves and excitement. But I'm glad you're here to witness it. Tom chuckled. I wouldn't miss this for anything. And besides, someone has to make sure you don't bolt, he joked, clapping Nathan on the shoulder. Just then, the soft sounds of Eocean music filled the air. Notes that seemed both otherworldly and comforting, played by a small group of musicians Lila had brought together from around campus. The guests turned to see Lila approaching, dressed in a simple yet elegant gown, with small symbols of her heritage delicately embroidered on the fabric. As Lila walked down the aisle, her gaze locked onto Nathan's, and a warm smile spread across her face. She held a small, glowing stone in her hands, a traditional Eocean symbol of unity that she would share with Nathan during the ceremony. When she reached him, they both held the stone together, letting it glow between their hands as the officiant began to speak. Today, we witness a union not only between two people but between two worlds, the officiant began, acknowledging the unique nature of their commitment. In holding this stone together, Nathan and Lila symbolize a bridge between their lives, their cultures, and the love they share. Lila looked up at Nathan, her eyes shining. On Eos, we have a saying. Our light is shared, and in sharing it grows. Nathan, you've shown me that love can flourish even between two vastly different lives. Today, I promise to walk this journey with you. Hand in hand, Nathan took a steadying breath, his voice filled with emotion. Lila, you've changed my life in ways I never could have imagined. You've shown me that love isn't bound by where we come from, but by who we are. I promise to stand by you, to learn with you, and to love you every day. The officiant nodded, and they released the stone, letting it glow brightly for a moment before dimming, a symbol of their unity now shared between them. As they kissed, the guests broke into applause, cheering for the couple who had dared to defy conventions and make their own path. Tom, wiping a tear from his eye, leaned over to a nearby colleague and whispered, "I told you this would be the wedding of the century." Later, at the reception, Nathan and Lila danced under the stars, surrounded by friends, students, and faculty who had supported their journey. Tom joined them on the dance floor, jokingly showing off some questionable dance moves that had everyone laughing. As the night drew to a close, Lila and Nathan found a quiet spot under a tree, away from the laughter and music. She rested her head on his shoulder, content. "Do you think we'll ever go to Eos together?" Nathan asked, looking at the stars with a sense of wonder. Lila nodded. "One day, when the time is right. But for now, this is our world, here together. We have so much to explore, both here and out there." Nathan smiled, wrapping an arm around her. "Then let's take it one step at a time." Together, they stayed like that, wrapped in each other's arms, under the vast sky. And in that moment, the world felt perfectly aligned for both of them, as they looked forward to a future filled with discovery, love, and the quiet certainty that they were exactly where they were meant to be.